said the ship's hidden identity. Most people in the colony spent their days working boring jobs in factories or shuttling cargo between planets, but Kale had a different calling. He repaired machines. He rebuilt old tech. And sometimes he found things that no one else could. The workshop itself was a mess, a chaotic jungle of discarded parts, half-built droids and crates full of unknown devices. Kale loved it that way. To him, every piece of scrap had a story, and every broken machine was a puzzle waiting to be solved. Today, though, he was unusually restless. He had finished repairing a cargo droid for the starport, and the silence afterward felt strange, almost heavy. He wandered to the back of the workshop, past stacks of old plasma engines and alien electronics he couldn't identify. There, under a dusty tarp, something caught his eye. It was unlike anything he had seen before. At first, he thought it was just another rusted-out shuttle, abandoned and forgotten. But as he brushed away the layers of dust, the sleek curves of the hull glinted faintly under the workshop lights. Kale's heart raced. The ship was small, maybe just a personal craft, but its design was different. Clean lines, almost organic in shape, with strange markings that didn't match any human language. He crouched, running his fingers over the hull. "Where did you come from?" he muttered. He had seen alien ships before, sure, but nothing like this. This looked alive in a way. The temptation was too strong. Kale's curiosity always won. He began examining the ship, carefully lifting panels, checking circuits, and testing power systems. Surprisingly, many of the internal systems were still functional. The ship seemed dormant but not dead. It was waiting. Hours passed, but Kale didn't notice. He worked carefully, combining his knowledge of human tech with guesswork from alien schematics. Occasionally, the ship would hum softly, almost as if it was responding to his touch. Kale paused once and listened. The sound was faint, melodic, and oddly comforting. "This isn't just a wreck," he whispered to himself. "You're something else entirely." By nightfall, Kale had managed to power a few of the ship's systems. Lights flickered across the console, and strange symbols glowed faintly on a holographic display. He leaned closer, trying to make sense of them. They didn't match any language he knew, but the patterns were logical. Someone or something had designed this ship with intelligence far beyond anything humans had ever built. Kale felt a thrill he hadn't experienced in years. This was why he loved machines. They challenged him. They tested his mind. And sometimes they rewarded him with secrets the rest of the world had forgotten. He decided to take a break and stepped outside the workshop. The night sky above the colony was dotted with stars, some familiar, some distant and alien. Kale leaned against the metal frame of the doorway, still thinking about the ship. Whoever had built it had a purpose, and Kale's mind raced with possibilities. Could it be a spy ship, a research vessel, or something older, something from before human space travel began? Sleep didn't come easily. His mind kept returning to the ship, to the hum of its systems, and to the strange symbols that seemed almost like a language of their own. By morning, Kale was back at it, determined to uncover more. He opened the data interface and tried to connect it to his portable scanner. The ship resisted at first, almost as if it was testing him, but Kale's persistence paid off. Slowly, fragments of information began to appear. Blueprints, star maps, and encrypted logs filled the screen. Most of it was in a language he couldn't read, but patterns emerged. Some symbols seemed to correspond to energy flows, others to propulsion. Kale's mind, trained in human engineering, began to recognize the logic behind the alien code. "This is incredible," he murmured. "You're not just a ship. You're a machine designed to think, to learn, maybe even to choose." He spent days working on the ship, carefully repairing damaged circuits and adapting alien technology with human tools. Every success brought new excitement. A small console powered on, displaying a three-dimensional map of nearby star systems. Kale's eyes widened. These were regions humans had never explored, far beyond the trade routes and colonies. Whoever had built this ship had been far ahead of everyone else in the galaxy. But Kale wasn't just curious about where the ship had been. He was curious about who, or what, had built it. He dug deeper, scanning logs and attempting to decrypt files. The ship didn't resist now. It seemed to respond to his efforts, guiding him subtly. Hints appeared here and there, a missing date, a fragment of an alien signature, a symbol that repeated in multiple systems. It felt like the ship was alive, or at least aware that someone had finally come along who could understand it. Kale shivered at the thought. A machine this advanced, this intelligent, could be dangerous, but it could also be extraordinary. One evening, as he was cross-referencing energy flows with propulsion data, a hidden compartment clicked open. Inside was a small, crystalline device, faintly glowing. Kale picked it up and examined it. The patterns on the crystal were intricate, almost like a star map combined with circuitry. He realized it was a data core, probably containing the ship's most important secrets. With trembling hands, he inserted it into the interface. The ship shuddered softly and the display shifted, revealing a symbol he hadn't noticed before, a sigil that pulsed with light. Kale stared at it, feeling a strange connection. This was the ship's identity, the core of its purpose. He hesitated. Some instinct warned him that reading it could change everything. But curiosity won, as it always did. He activated the core. A flood of information poured in. Not just star maps and technical schematics, but mission logs, encrypted messages, and historical records from civilizations humans had only heard of in myths. Kale's mind raced to process it all. He discovered that the ship had been a reconnaissance prototype built by an ancient alien civilization, designed to study emerging species and catalog advanced technology. And then he saw it, its name, hidden deep within the code. Not just a label, but a designation that carried weight across the galaxy. This ship was not ordinary. It had been part of a network, a system that monitored civilizations and their potential. Kale leaned back, breathing heavily. The implications were staggering. If the wrong people knew about this ship, it could start wars, trigger conflicts, or even change the balance of power across star systems. But in his hands it was something else. A tool, a key, a challenge. He smiled, a mixture of fear and exhilaration. I think we're going to do something incredible, he said aloud, speaking to the ship as if it could understand. Maybe it could. After all, it had responded to his work, to his touch, to his mind. Days turned into nights as Kale continued exploring the ship. Every system he powered up revealed more secrets, and every secret deepened the mystery. The ship's AI, if it could be called that, began to communicate in symbols, lights, and subtle vibrations. Kale learned to understand them, responding with adjustments, repairs, and experiments of his own. The workshop became a world of its own, a place where Kale and the ship exchanged knowledge silently. He discovered ways to integrate human tech into alien systems, creating hybrid devices that no one else could replicate. It was exhilarating, like dancing with a partner who spoke a language only you could understand. And then one night, Kale made a discovery that would change everything. Hidden deep in the AI logs, beyond the maps and technical data, was a record of the ship's original mission, one that involved the study of humans. The ship's creators had been observing humanity from afar, cataloging our behavior, our innovations, our resilience. They had decided whether we were a species to nurture, ignore, or eliminate. Kale's heart pounded. The ship's hidden identity wasn't just about its own design, it was about humanity itself. In that moment, he realized the truth. He wasn't just repairing a ship. He was holding a piece of the galaxy's history in his hands. And now, with the data core unlocked, humans had a chance to rise in a way no one had expected. Kale leaned back in his chair, exhausted but alive with possibility. The workshop was quiet again, but it was different this time. It was full of potential, full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. And Kale knew that whatever came next, humanity would not be underestimated. He looked at the glowing ship, a small smile on his face. "This is just the beginning," he whispered. And for the first time in his life, he felt the weight and the wonder of holding something truly extraordinary. The morning sun spilled over the colony, painting the metal roofs of the starport with gold. Kale was already in the workshop, hunched over the ship, the glow of the holographic displays reflecting in his eyes. Since unlocking the data core, the ship had seemed different. It was no longer just a machine waiting to be repaired. It was aware, watching, responding. Kale's fingers moved deftly over the controls, integrating human tools into alien systems. Every time he made a small adjustment, the ship's AI, or whatever it was, responded with subtle pulses of light, a vibration, or a change in the hum of its engines. He had begun to understand it, not in words but in patterns and signals. "This is incredible," Kale murmured. "I've never worked on anything like you before." A flicker of light traveled across the console, almost as if the ship had acknowledged his words. Kale felt a shiver run down his spine. Machines didn't respond to compliments, at least not this way. This was something else entirely. He began running more tests, carefully monitoring energy outputs, propulsion systems, and navigation interfaces. Each system he powered up revealed more secrets. The ship could adapt. Its shields were reactive, able to anticipate attacks in a way that made Kale wonder if it had learned from something or someone. Hours passed, and Kale barely noticed. He was lost in the thrill of discovery, in the puzzle of alien intelligence. But the colony outside the workshop was not as peaceful. Rumors of Kale's find had begun to spread. Traders, scavengers, and curious onlookers whispered about the mechanic who had uncovered a strange ship. It was only a matter of time before someone tried to take it. Kale didn't care about the attention. His focus was on understanding the ship. He discovered new systems hidden deep within the hull. Stealth modules, advanced sensors, and propulsion technology far beyond anything humans had created. The ship was not designed for combat. It was a reconnaissance vessel, built for observation, study, and perhaps survival in dangerous territories. But it wasn't just the technology that fascinated Kale. It was the AI, the sense of intelligence embedded in every circuit. He found a communication module that allowed him to interact with the ship in ways he didn't fully understand. It responded to gestures, voice commands, and even thought patterns. Kale realized he was not simply repairing a machine, he was forming a partnership. Late one night, Kale stumbled across a log entry buried deep in the ship's memory banks. It was old, ancient even, written in a language he had only partially deciphered. Symbols danced across the screen, describing missions, observations, and instructions for a vessel far more advanced than anything in human space. As Kale pieced together the fragments, he began to see the true purpose of the ship. It had been built to monitor civilizations, to catalog their strengths, weaknesses, and potential. And now, for the first time in centuries, a human had unlocked its secrets. The thrill of discovery was exhilarating, but Kale also felt the weight of responsibility. Information like this could change the balance of power in the galaxy. It could make humans powerful, or it could make them a target. He realized that the ship's hidden identity wasn't just about technology. It was about strategy, survival, and intelligence on a scale he could barely comprehend. And then the trouble began. A group of scavengers arrived at the workshop one morning, claiming to be traders interested in Kale's latest project. But Kale knew better. Their eyes lingered on the ship, their hands itching for a chance to steal it. He kept his cool, pretending to work on another droid while subtly monitoring their movements. The ship, sensing the intrusion, pulsed faintly, lights flickering across the console. Kale understood immediately. It was alerting him. He smiled, a mixture of pride and amusement. Humans might be underestimated in the galaxy, but they had something no other species did: instinct, adaptability, and cleverness. When the scavengers reached for the ship, Kale triggered a series of defensive systems he had secretly activated. The floor panels shifted, creating barriers, and the doors sealed automatically. The scavengers panicked, retreating in confusion, while Kale calmly returned to the console. The ship hummed, almost approvingly, and Kale laughed. "You're learning fast," he said, patting the hull. "Not just me, both of us." Over the next few days, Kale continued his work. He integrated more human technology, improving the ship's energy efficiency, stabilizing its systems, and unlocking more of its hidden capabilities. With each upgrade, the ship became more responsive, more capable, more alive. Then came the breakthrough. While exploring the AI's core systems, Kale discovered the ship's full designation. It was part of an elite reconnaissance fleet built by an ancient alien civilization long thought extinct. These ships were meant to observe and protect civilizations, cataloging knowledge, and sometimes intervening when a species was on the verge of collapse or conquest. Kale's heart raced. Humans had just stumbled upon a relic of unimaginable power, and he was the first human to unlock it. But the ship held even more secrets. Hidden within the data core were coordinates, star maps, and logs detailing alien civilizations humans had only heard of in legends. There were warnings of interstellar threats, maps of uncharted territories, and records of species far more advanced than humans. The realization hit Kale. The galaxy was bigger, stranger, and more dangerous than he had ever imagined. He spent nights poring over the logs, deciphering symbols and cross-referencing star systems. The ship seemed to guide him, pulsing lights, vibrating gently, responding to his discoveries. Kale realized that the vessel wasn't just a machine. It was a teacher, a guide, and perhaps even a guardian. The colony outside was restless. News of Kale's ship had spread, drawing the attention of alien traders, scavengers, and even representatives of distant governments. Kale knew they would come for the ship eventually. He had to be ready, so he began preparing. Using his skills, he created traps, reinforced doors, and programmed the ship's stealth systems. Every human innovation was integrated seamlessly with alien technology. Kale was no longer just a mechanic. He was a strategist, a defender, and the first human pilot of a ship that could rival entire fleets. One evening, as Kale activated a new navigation system, the ship displayed a holographic map of nearby systems. Stars, planets, and uncharted regions glowed brightly, some with symbols Kale recognized from the data core. The ship's AI pulsed gently, guiding his hand to a particular system. Kale leaned closer, intrigued. "These coordinates, they're far from any human settlement," he murmured. "What's out there?" He decided to take a calculated risk. With careful planning, Kale prepared the ship for its first short jump beyond the colony. The engines hummed to life, and the vessel responded instantly, its systems adapting to his commands. As the ship lifted off the ground, Kale felt a thrill he had never experienced. This wasn't just a discovery, it was the beginning of an adventure that could change everything. During the jump, Kale observed the ship's response. It was adaptive, intelligent, and surprisingly cooperative. He realized that his human intuition, combined with ingenuity, allowed him to operate the vessel in ways its creators might not have anticipated. Humans had a way of thinking differently, sometimes chaotic, sometimes brilliant, and the ship responded perfectly to that unpredictability. Upon arriving in the new system, Kale explored a small, deserted planet. Strange structures dotted the landscape, remnants of alien architecture. The ship guided him, projecting holographic overlays and scanning for energy signatures. Kale marveled at the technology, realizing that this civilization had been far more advanced than humans could imagine. But Kale also realized something else. Knowledge like this came with risk. Any species powerful enough to create this technology would not leave it unguarded forever. He had to be careful, clever, and always one step ahead. That night, while the ship rested on the planet's surface, Kale studied its AI. He discovered a pattern in its responses, a form of reasoning that combined logic with instinct. The ship was not just a machine, it was a partner, and Kale's ingenuity allowed him to unlock levels of potential even its creators might not have expected. He smiled, leaning back in his chair. "We're not just surviving," he said softly. "We're learning, growing, and we're ready for whatever comes next." Kale had crossed a line. He was no longer just a mechanic in a workshop. He was the first human to interact with an alien intelligence of unimaginable power, the first to unlock secrets that could shape the future of humanity. And he knew that once the galaxy learned about the ship, nothing would ever be the same. As he stared at the stars through the cockpit, Kale realized one truth. Humans might be young in the galaxy, but they were resourceful, adaptable, and fearless. And with a ship like this, and a mind like his, humanity could rise to a place it had never dreamed of before. He didn't know what challenges awaited him or how dangerous the journey would be. But he did know one thing: the adventure had only just begun. Kale floated in the cockpit, staring at the endless sea of stars before him. The ship hummed softly, almost as if it were alive, responding to his every thought and movement. Days of study, repair, and cautious experimentation had brought him here, on the edge of uncharted space, with a vessel of unimaginable power at his fingertips. He could hardly believe what he had discovered. The ship's hidden identity, its origin as part of an ancient alien reconnaissance fleet, was more than a technological marvel. It contained knowledge that could change the course of human history. Maps of distant star systems, advanced propulsion designs, and even warnings of civilizations capable of dominating entire galaxies lay within its memory banks. For the first time, humans had a tool that could make them more than a footnote in the galactic story. Kale's mind raced with possibilities. Should he report this to the colony, to the human authorities? Or should he keep it a secret, protect the ship until humanity was ready? The risk was enormous. Powerful alien forces could be tracking the vessel, waiting for the right moment to strike. But Kale had learned something important. Humans were clever, resilient, and unpredictable, and that unpredictability was a weapon in itself. He decided to explore further. Using the ship's advanced navigation systems, Kale charted a course to a nearby system the ship had highlighted as significant. The engines responded instantly, adjusting to the gravitational pull of a nearby star. The ship's AI pulsed rhythmically, guiding him to a planet where energy readings suggested something valuable and dangerous might be hidden. As the vessel entered orbit, Kale could see the planet's surface: jagged mountains, deep canyons, and strange structures that glowed faintly under the alien sun. The ship scanned the area, projecting holographic overlays that revealed energy sources, dormant machines, and hidden entrances. Kale's excitement grew. This was not just exploration, it was discovery at the highest level. He landed the ship carefully on a plateau near one of the glowing structures. The vessel's systems automatically stabilized, and the AI projected a shield around them. Kale stepped outside, his boots crunching against the alien soil. The air was thin but breathable. The landscape was eerie, almost alive, with faint lights flickering in the distance. Kale approached the nearest structure, scanning for traps and energy signatures. The alien design was unlike anything he had seen: intricate patterns of metal and crystal, pulsing with energy. He realized this place had been abandoned for centuries, yet the ship's sensors detected latent power, waiting to be awakened. Using his understanding of both human and alien technology, Kale interfaced with the structure. Lights flickered and panels shifted, revealing hidden chambers filled with devices that hummed faintly. The ship's AI pulsed, guiding him through the complex with precision. It was almost as if the vessel had been here before, recording this moment for someone, or something, to follow. Hours passed as Cale explored, documenting every detail. Then he found it, a central console heavily encrypted with symbols matching those in the ship's data core. His hands trembled as he interfaced with it. The ship responded instantly, pulsing with energy and projecting holograms that revealed secrets long hidden. Cale deciphered the logs slowly. They detailed a plan by the ancient civilization to monitor emerging species and intervene only when necessary. The ship he had discovered had been a scout, meant to observe humans and assess their potential. Now, Cale realized, he held the culmination of that assessment. Humanity was no longer unknown. They were being noticed. The magnitude of the discovery hit him. This was not just a ship. It was a key to understanding the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, and humans had been chosen, by chance or perhaps fate, to wield it. But the moment of awe was interrupted. A warning flashed across the ship's display. Multiple ships were approaching the system. Cale's heart sank. Alien vessels, sleek and menacing, had detected the energy readings from the scout ship. They were not friendly. He had anticipated danger, but this was immediate and real. Cale didn't panic. Instead, he activated the ship's defensive systems, blending human creativity with alien technology. Shields flared to life, energy barriers rippled across the hull, and stealth modules engaged. The approaching ships scanned the area, but the vessel's adaptive systems kept them hidden for now. Cale's mind raced. He knew he couldn't outrun them forever. He had to outthink them. Using the ship's AI, he created false energy signatures and projected holographic duplicates of the vessel across the system. The alien ships were confused, scanning multiple targets, unable to identify the real one. Cale smiled. Humans might not have the most advanced tech in the galaxy, but they had ingenuity, and that was often enough. The first attack came. Alien drones shot energy pulses toward the planet's surface, aiming to disable the ship. Cale countered by activating adaptive shielding and using the terrain to his advantage. Energy pulses bounced off rocky cliffs, creating confusion among the enemy forces. The ship's AI responded perfectly, predicting movements and adjusting systems in real time. Cale realized that he and the ship were no longer separate. They were partners. Every instinct, every decision, every human spark of creativity was amplified by the vessel's intelligence. Together, they were unstoppable. The battle raged across the skies, light flashing against the dark void. Cale maneuvered the ship through narrow canyons, using gravity wells to disrupt enemy sensors. He hacked alien targeting systems, sending false data to mislead the attackers. Hours passed and the alien forces grew frustrated, unable to pinpoint the ship. Finally, Cale saw an opportunity. The enemy command vessel was isolated, its shields weaker than the others. He calculated a precise attack trajectory, using the ship's adaptive systems to strike with pinpoint accuracy. The pulse hit the command vessel, disabling its engines without destroying it entirely. The remaining attackers retreated, unable to continue the assault. Cale exhaled, sweat dripping from his brow. He had survived, outsmarted, and proven that human intuition combined with alien technology was a force to be reckoned with. The ship pulsed, almost approvingly, as if acknowledging their victory. For the first time, Cale allowed himself to smile fully. Humanity had faced danger and emerged victorious, not through sheer strength, but through intelligence, creativity, and courage. With the immediate threat gone, Cale focused on the ship's hidden data once more. He unlocked the final logs, revealing star maps, propulsion schematics, and strategies that could allow humans to explore regions of space previously deemed unreachable. The ship contained instructions for creating hybrid technology, combining human innovation with alien engineering. Cale realized the implications. Humanity could rise in the galaxy, not by conquest, but by knowledge, ingenuity, and adaptability. This was the HFY moment he had always dreamed of. Humans might be young and underestimated, but they had potential that even ancient civilizations had recognized. He spent weeks integrating the ship's technology with human tools, creating systems that no alien could replicate easily. The vessel became faster, smarter, and more resilient. Kale tested every system, pushing the ship to its limits. And each time it responded perfectly, adapting, learning, evolving. Word of Kale's discovery spread, but he was careful. He chose allies wisely, sharing knowledge only with those he trusted. Together, they prepared for further exploration, knowing that the galaxy was full of dangers, but also full of opportunities. One evening, as Kale looked out at the stars, he reflected on how far he had come. A simple mechanic in a cluttered workshop had uncovered an alien scout ship, unlocked its secrets, and used it to defend humanity against a superior force. The hidden identity of the ship had changed everything. Kale knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, and humans had barely scratched the surface. But one thing was certain: they were ready. Humans were clever, adaptable, and fearless. And with a ship like this and a mind like Kale's, they could face anything. As he prepared for the next jump into uncharted space, Kale smiled, a sense of purpose and pride filling him. He had started with curiosity, with a simple desire to repair a ship. But now he held the future in his hands. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for too long, and Kale intended to prove that humans were a force to be reckoned with. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, each one a new opportunity, a new challenge. And Kale, with the ship by his side, was ready to face them all. For the first time in human history, a single mechanic held the key to humanity's rise in the galaxy. And with every jump, every discovery, every challenge, the story of humanity's ingenuity and courage grew brighter, stronger, and impossible to ignore. Kale's adventure was far from over. But one thing was clear: humans had arrived, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again.